All right, let's do it then. Since obviously I'll set it up like this. Here's the punchline, okay? So what happened was when we did our rankings on the first episode was Aberdeen. I had Mad Lions dead last. I was so cynical. I put them completely dead last 10th. And Zabatine took kindness and had them ninth. So all you need to know is, yes, absolutely everyone, as far as I can tell, who isn't Spanish, didn't rate this team highly, doesn't expect much from them. Quite frankly, seems to think they're one of the worst teams in the league. What was your perspective coming in?
I would say that if I'm going to frame this from the perspective of LDOR, right? So if I'm a very promising jungle talent, there's two ways that there are two scenarios that I would want, right? One is I would want to be on G2. I want to be on the best team with the best players who knows how, and a team that knows how to make a winning culture work, right? And a lot of people will say that, okay, so what would be the second option then, right? Or would it be to be on the second best team with the second best players with somewhat of a winning culture? No, that is actually the thing that I want to avoid, right? Because if I'm
Okay.
going to start working with all sorts of superstar players, then I myself as a superstar need to learn a new skill set, which is how do I manage my ego and manage other people's egos together. And this is a team that does has not necessarily learned how to make it work just yet, right? G2, they have the winning formula, no matter who they put in there, and no matter how big their egos are, with the exception of that 1 year with Reckless, of course, they have shown that they have been able to make it work, right? But if they're going to put me on a team that's let's say Vitality, right? Every year they try to build a super team roster, they spend lots of money, they bring me on, they bring on all these big names that are not Camps, that's not Wonder, that is not I kind of think on the AD carry right now, right? But this
Upset.
is not it's not yeah it's not upset, right? It's just the second place players across the board, and then now I have to manage my egos together with them, and then this has the potential. It's got all the pressure and none of the and very little of the upside because we're not actually the best team in the LEC. That is actually the nightmare scenario because it can go bad very fast, very quickly, and it'll be extremely awful to be on that. I would actually say Mad Lions and what they have given to Elioya, just solely from his perspective, it's probably the next best thing to that, right? Because now he's king of the castle, right? He says anything, and everybody goes, "Si, senor." Anything he wants, he's the big superstar. It's like four players that have already pre-existing synergy. So they've already worked out whatever issues that they might have had between each other. They finished second in the EU Masters, right? They finished second to K Corp in the EU Masters. And then they have a jungle upgrade in who I believe is effectively now the team captain in Elioya to show them the light and the magic that he has learned from his time being on Mad Lions in the past that's able to say that this is how you play League of Legends. And I think that's translating into the way that they play games. They see two people appear on the side lanes, they're not afraid to just flash forward and just go kill the opponents. This is not something that you usually see out of a rookie team. When a rookie team comes up, right? Usually these people are a little bit more scared, they play a little bit more safe. But this is a team that has the aggressiveness. They know how to jump at the opportunities. I even thought that was very bold of them in their first game against Team Heretics to go for that double tree invade on the bottom side of the map, right? And if you were to tell me that was not Elioya, that was the previous jungler, which was Isma, right? Going for the top of play, I would think that this is them causing disaster, right? But this is Elioya. He's an experienced jungler in the LEC. He knows that you can look for these opportunities. They knew very clearly that. In fact, I would have to say though, credit to whoever is out there if this was entirely planned. If they knew that the change in map architecture would actually create a blue side advantage and going for those type of
All
invades, then
right.
props to them, right? The fact that they can then just push aggressively up
Right.
and then have the wall behind them that was where I think the AD carry super flash like across the wall into the river, and nobody can actually follow him, right? Because if you follow with the flash, you're just inting. So it creates this type of blue side advantages when invading onto the blue buff. And despite the opponent having the likes of a Vine Nami, which can usually one-shot somebody, they knew that they could use this architectural map advantage to really push the pressure. Let's ignore the fact that Puck's low-key into that fight for a second there. I actually
Sure.
think that this is really brilliant for them, right? And if this entire team is just going to be Elioya with his years of experience, who's arguably, I mean, everyone say that Jankos was all team first team pro, right? And I think that's a very good argument whether it's him or Elioya. But this is them taking all the experience of Elioya and just doubling down on that, right? How this team scales in the long run, we'll have to see. I would have to say that this almost feels like a adapted version of a Peter Dunn type of project, right? Where you take a star and then you build the pieces around him. Probably, I would say maybe at the end of this year or when they go into the summer split, um, they might have to change one piece or two, and then that one piece or two would then possibly push them into the tier where this is a team that's not just sneaking into worlds, where this is a team that teams that you can be excited about, right? And I actually found that this whole Mad Lions project with the Koi is so interesting is that I think this is more reflective of the overall esports scene, right? Everybody in the past was going about how do we get wins, how do we brand ourselves as entertainment model. I actually thought the Mad Lions, what they did here with going with a much more regional context is them trying to adapt more towards the sports model. So I think that this was a perfect storm of synergy for them, right? They went in there, they found the right star player to build around, they built a full Spanish team around him. And then the question is, can they keep up the success, right? So if I were to go back and say that to what I was saying earlier, and it's about changing one of these pieces, if they were going to, so this is where it gets a bit concerning, right? Because if you go back to the old models of how people did things in the past, then you look to Korea, you look to within your competition within the LEC. Let's say they find that hypothetically speaking, right? They find that Supa's the one, or the AD carry, or maybe the top laner is the one who is not really cutting his weight in not cutting his weight, he's cutting his worth in the LEC, and they need to make a replacement. In the past, you would then go to a Korean team, an LPL team, or within your competition, the LEC, to see if you can find a Patrick or someone like that, right, in the AD carry position to bring in. But in this case, if they're going with more of a sports model, then they're definitely going to look for someone Spanish. And is there a such a replacement available for them if they were to hit the stage to say that this is where we're capped out and this is where we have to make a replacement to get this team to succeed and really make the push for Worlds, if that is even their goal in the first place, of course.
Yeah, the problem with this team, obviously, like you've addressed in your explanation there, is you have to take in like off-season considerations. What are they trying to do? What is their expectations? So my problem is, I think it's both. I think they've essentially, here's the problem, Jensen. The term that people need to understand in League of Legends, because it applies in the real world, is political expedience. What it means is it's when a politician or some political figure does something, but they just do it because it's just essentially like either the easiest or sort of like the most profitable or most beneficial, or just the like sort of path of least resistance in that moment. But obviously, because they're a politician, you message it as if it's something really good that you wanted to do anyway. Like, oh no, this is a good thing that I'm doing this. So what you've done is, instead of coming out, Jensen, and going, sorry, Mad Lions fans, I know we were a contender last year and for many years before, and that coach Mac built us repeated like contenders that went to Worlds. We're not going to sign him or any of the good players except El Yoya. But wait, that's not what we're going to sell you. Actually, it's a total pivot, and we're going to sell you, we're Mad Lions, Spanish, got El Yoya, your favourite Spanish player. Let's sell you the dream that we're a Spanish team. It's about nationality. You know those guys you all cheered for, the Movistar riders from the LVP? They're coming along too. They're in the LEC. If you sell that angle, then if someone is a Spanish fan, they're in. The joke is, even though the team isn't good yet, and spoiler, I don't care about these three results. They're not good yet, guys. They're not. But they're already sort of like, right, well, okay, I'm emotionally invested, even if I don't know if they're good. And let's be real, if they really did buy into that silly drama from last year about Niski and El Yoya and the French versus Spanish angle, then your whole angle is like, oh, at least he's not being injured by that terrible Niski anymore. By the way, watch that SK game. How did that Niski fella play? He fucking looked like he had like a revenge like storyline play. It's like anime or something, guys. He looked like he wanted to murk El Yoya, and he did, by the way. So my problem is this. My issue with the Mad Lions one, I'll make it brief because I could do a whole video on this, is just that I think if you know that, like, behind the scenes, I'm going to guess, by the way, that I don't think like that. That's why I say I think it's political expedience. I think it's both. I think they simultaneously did see the sea change, which is at the moment the marketing angle, as you've seen from LEC, is if you're French or Spanish, play to those fan bases. Those are easily the most developed of the RLs, if people don't know, the ones that actually have the pop-off audience that want the nationalism, etc. That obviously, I joked about, but for obvious reasons, doesn't apply to like the German scene, for example. It's non-existent in comparison. But I think that like part of it is you just didn't want to, you didn't or couldn't spend as much money. You couldn't probably pay Mac and Kazi and Hillisat. You know, like these people need real salaries, guys. Like these are people who are champions. They're at the top league. In fact, after last year, if you think about how sports works, after last year, you're probably all supposed to get a bump up in your salary. You've all just done an awesome year. You went to Worlds, MSI, you won a split, you were in a final. Like that's better than expectations. So my issue is just this. I think it'll take me a while this year to shed the fact that I'll always look at this team and I'll look at El Yoya and go, they could have built another contender, especially this offseason, by the way. There's a load of names. Think of the ones that didn't get signed, Jensen. There's another problem I have with this team. If I watch this bot lane play, first thing I'm thinking is that could be Trimby. I'm sorry, if I watch their fucking mid laner play, the first thing I think is, hey, you know what? I wasn't the biggest Abadagi fan, but couldn't he play this game? You know what I mean? I'm going to be thinking that on a bunch of these positions. Think about like fucking the people who are in the league right now. So first of all, I have to think that initially when I know you could have signed those people. Once I lock into this specific team, the sad thing is, yeah, I can see how they won these first games. There clearly is a level of coordination like you're talking about that the other teams don't have. And actually, I'll give a fair play to them. I agree. Normally, rookies, the coordination wouldn't matter because you play so scared early on. They did the opposite. They actually really did play really decisively and go in when they needed to. And all basically like the joke is in the Carmine Corp game, they actually out team fought Carmine Corp. Like Carmine Corp individually as players, I think all look stronger. But it doesn't matter. That's classic League of Legends. A team fight, when the team fights together, it beats individual players who fight, as you saw. So that's all good. My problem is just this. You already saw in week 1, this is the same week where they also had the game where they got booty blasted by SK. And by the way, SK is a good team, we'll talk about them, but they're not fucking G2. Like, guys, SK made them look really bad. Especially remember, the players that have come up from Movistar Riders is obviously the mid and bot side of the map. El Yoya was hyping this bot lane, guys. I'm supposed to believe this is the next Kazi and Kaiser that have come up and, you know, they're going to, like, take over the league. I don't buy it. And from these games, I do not buy that this bot lane's going to run over the whole LEC. It isn't. And then the mid laner, I'm sorry, he puts the fucking mid in mid laner. There's no way this is going to be a top mid laner. I'm sorry, I refuse to believe it. And then the last thing I'll actually throw in is, on the El Yoya angle, the one person I do feel sorry for, just because they've gotten this pop and everyone's loving them in week 1, is the Isma guy. Because in his case, you can't even complain they didn't bring you up, can you? They had El Yoya, bro. Like, in that scenario, 1, you are French, and then 2, they had El Yoya. Like, you were never getting that gig. You even knew it. I bet as soon as they said, yeah, we're going to Mad Lions, you were like, right, see ya. I'll just find my team for the off-season guy. It's a waste of time even dreaming. So, for all we know, by the way, with his old team, he might have looked great with them too, but he doesn't get a chance. It's El Yoya. I know what you mean, Jensen. Put it this way. If this team even managed to make it, like, let's say they were even the 4th or 5th team, unironically, that probably means El Yoya is the MVP of the whole LEC at that point in time. Because I agree, if this team is going to just be completely all aboard the El Yoya Express, and we're actually going to see now, can he just be the absolute cracked out best jungler? So in a way, look, if you're a Yoyo fan, I am a fan of his game. It'll be fun. Like, this isn't like when Mad Lions was really good and he used to have to play Uday for them to win the championship. Like, I doubt that's as much fun. This is going to be like, you can imagine all the pop-off El Yoyo champions. So the one upside is at least it's going to be Gank City, baby. But personally, I think it's very easy, by the way. Everyone wants me, Jensen, on a show like this to go, I was wrong about Mad Lions. They will be great. And dude, this is one of the easiest double downs of all. Like, I'll just do, you know, the concept in the stock market, I'll just short. I'll say that I'm going to bet against them doing well, guys, and I'm going to sort of ride them, the dip, as it were. I'm going to take it down. What do you think? You think they can do it at all? By the way, essentially, they don't have to be good. Where do you think it's plausible they can get to? Can they get higher than this? Can they be a playoff team?
I think they're definitely a playoff team. I think that this team is definitely a playoff team. I think that one of the big differences that people have not really talked about yet is how close the LEC and ERLs have gotten over time,
Oh,
right? And
okay.
how
Yeah.
much bleeding no longer matters. So if I were to go back when I was working when I was doing two-way coaching, when I was working in the LEC with Spice, I was just doing bottling coaching, and I was coaching the Spice Vipers at the time as well, right? Which was the B team, and then later on when it became the Mad Lions as well. The biggest difference was in the laning phase, right? You would play there and you just wouldn't get past 5 minutes. You would just die because the LEC guys knew what the bottling cheeses, they knew what the tricks, and they would just take better trades than you, and you wouldn't really be able to get any game going. But I think over time it's been shown that these ERL players, over time the laning level has gone up, and the ability to really show a difference in laning you only really see it when you see like a Chovy play against uh someone else,
The
right?
worst
It's
mid
only
laner,
when
yeah,
you have
sure.
like you need 2 tiers of difference to really see that expression and difference, and you need someone to really be a specialist in the field. So the laning difference isn't that big as before. So once people start to understand that you play lane states to par and that you're able to execute those lane states to par, you don't have to crush your lane, and if you have a star jungler like Elioya, it's actually very easy to then translate that into further leads in the game, right? Because all I need to do is crash this wave. It doesn't really matter that I didn't get the additional trade in. It doesn't matter that I missed one CS as compared to what an Uzi might have had in the bot lane. I'm just there. I crashed the wave. I did my job. Wave 3 crashed in. I reset. Support now connects with jungler, and Elioya does his thing. So that's one of the factors why I'm a little bit higher in terms of Mad Lions, and why I was as well for KC. And KC's problems for the ERL players was not in terms of, well, technically they were all ex LEC players, right? Forsaken, Cabochard, and Targamas. But if we were to just classify them as ERL players, my concern for them wasn't in the laning phase, right? My concern for them was in their ability to adapt to the level of gameplay that you see in the ERLs. And if Elioya can bridge that and if Elioya can bridge that gap for them, then I'm actually pretty high on them so far from what I've seen, right? Of course, like I mentioned, is that when they hit that wall, when they hit that peak, that's when I would start to be a little bit more concerned for this team. It's like the old Cloud9, right? You take higher of the team, all of a sudden, things start to fall apart really quickly, right? They went from like a top 2, top 3 team into being 9th place all of a sudden. Of course, they're not going to replace Elioya. It's going to be replacing one of the other pieces, but I'm not too sure if that's going to change the dynamic of the team and
Right.
if they're going to be able to effectively replace those pieces, because this is probably a project that's very competent to we are a Spanish organization, and even if one of the players are underperforming, is there really another Spanish player who is ready to then take their place?
Yeah, that's true. That's actually also the dark part people haven't thought about yet with this whole we're French, we're Spanish. It's like it's going to be a lot harder, by the way, to kick those French and Spanish players. And then, like you're saying, what if the player waiting is just like Trimby from Poland? It's like, well, that doesn't have any connection to your theme, but he might actually be the right player to come in and make you awesome. So, yeah, just shows why I hope I hope they only do that for marketing. Hope competitively they will like make the right compromises. Right? Go
I
on.
just want to say though that
Yeah,
it's
go on.
criminal that Trimby doesn't have a team.
It's mental,
Like
isn't it? I know.
it's criminal that Trimby doesn't have a team.
It's just mad. I don't get it myself. To me, he's another one of those players where it's like that what they actually bring, like in terms of the thing, like just draft potential and stuff. Like this is a play you gamble on, even if they're in bad form. Like when Fnatic got him, you just gamble that you're going to have the right environment to bring him out there. Because if you do, the upside's crazy in it. Like I imagine if I'm a coach, it must be a dream having a player like that. Who, like, remember the joke is he suggested like 3 fucking pocket picks that the other team hasn't thought of. Never mind you saying what can you do this year. So yeah, I agree. That's one of those ones that really is criminal. Some of the other ones are more borderline this off season, but that one I actually think is actually mental. The idea he didn't get any team, not even the worst teams given an offer. So.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.